everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Seth, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Rod. Thank you.
Excellent. Please introduce yourself and the name of your business.
So I'm Seth Wiersma. I'm a business owner of Clean Air Lawn Care Marietta. I'm a franchise owner for this southeast area.
Southeast area. Awesome. We so look forward to learning more about your business. But before that, we want to learn a little bit more about your journey. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Man, I don't know how far back you want to go. We could start at the snow shoveling and lawn mowing days when I was a kid.
Okay.
But fast forwarding, I had my first kind of taste of entrepreneurship in college. The end of my sophomore year, I decided to embark on a college pro painter type of business. And funny enough, that's the one time I had a legit panic attack. Leading into it. The morning I was packing up to drive back to Grand Rapids, Michigan from Michigan State to do this business. I was the last owner they hired. I felt completely behind the eight ball. And I can't speak enough, though, about what it meant to persevere through that one little moment there where I was like, I can't do this. Gathered myself, got my crap together. Went in and, knocked it out. Had a fun season. It was really hard, but man, it taught me so much just at a young age about being a business owner, managing employees, managing customers, understanding all the dynamics involved in that. So graduated from Michigan State, went out to California, got as far from the cold as I could, and spent about 3 years out there. I was in the recruiting business. That was the dialing for bucks, man. We were making 150 cold calls a day.
Oh, man.
You were calling IT managers. We were placing IT, experts at the time, Java coders, C++, coders, all that stuff. It was back 99, 2000 range when the dot-com industry was going crazy. So moved from California to Atlanta. 2 weeks before 9/11. Interesting time to be looking for work and, finding my way in a new place. But stayed in the same industry for a hot minute and then got introduced into the legal space. And I provided, document management, discovery service consulting for the legal industry. So I worked with law firms, corporate legal departments on how to better manage their data, using predictive coding technologies and things like that to get through information faster. And that was a really good space for me. I did really well there for the better part of 20 years. What we saw there, though, is that industry really evolved quickly after about the 8 or 9 year mark. The technologies really started to become more evolved, more off-the-shelf products, less consulting, and the vendors were sort of their worst-known enemies. They were cannibalizing. They were driving pricing down. So something that, used to cost, $1,200 a gigabyte was now like $35 a gigabyte.
Whoa, that's
so
a huge difference.
It got really difficult to make the same type of money. It got really hard to differentiate because these products kept getting consolidated. So fast forward a little bit more. I went through a couple iterations. I spent about 12 years of that time all with one company. We got purchased at one point, my company did, and my then business partner and I decided to spin off a business from that. It kind of ran adjacent to it, because the company who bought us dissolved a certain segment of it, the scanning of documents and copying of documents and some of the more antiquated pieces of that industry. So we spun that business off and worked with the company that had purchased the other company, and we sort of started our own little deal there. We had about 9 employees, did that for about 5 years. The company that we were working for bought that company, ironically.
Good. That's good, though. That's good.
And so I went through a few more iterations within that same industry and just got burnout on the churn.
On that,
It was just tough. So I said, it's time to make a change, man. I had a real taste for the entrepreneurial side of things. I knew I didn't want to spin up another I didn't want to go work for somebody and just in a pure sales role again. I don't know if I didn't have the resolve at the time to go build a whole nother book and to start at that bottom rung again and like kind of report to somebody day in and day out. It just, I wasn't feeling that anymore.
Yes.
So I started looking at franchise opportunities, and I looked at a roofing company. I looked at a beauty salon at one point. I looked at a disaster recovery business, and then I stumbled across Clean Air Lawn Care, and it really checked a number of boxes for me. I like working outside. I liked, the eco-friendly component of it.
Right.
That's a big piece of what we, do, which we can talk about more.
Absolutely.
And yeah, just, hit the ground running. It was lights out on, Friday afternoon of that other business and lights on Sunday.
This one?
Took my family truck, bought a landscape trailer. I was employee one,
Yes.
And away we went.
Yeah, now, based off the story that you're sharing, you have always had that entrepreneurial spirit. Is that something where you saw, like, your parents or grandparents or family members had that hustle to make you want to do entrepreneurial type things?
I come from a very blue-collar background. My dad was a long-haul truck driver.
Okay.
He was a carpenter. He was a mechanic. And then he did, hauling asphalt around. We heated with wood growing up, so I grew up chopping a lot of wood.
Yes.
So the work ethic, I think, comes from him.
Yeah.
My stepmom, my mom, my stepdad. My stepmom in particular, she helped me get through Michigan State. She was sort of my leading light in terms of more business acumen. And so I credit her with kind of shifting me from that blue collar work ethic into more of a white collar, sort of profession. And so.
I got you. Now, at that time, it came where you were like, hey, I've started a couple businesses, spent off a couple businesses, doing these different things. Was there an event that said, you know what? I like how Clean Air looks. I'm going to burn the ship and go all into it? Or was it just you passed that particular test and I'm going to go with that?
Yeah, it was, I can't point to one single event. There were probably several over time, but it was just, the grind of what that industry how it had changed.
Okay.
I just, this having the same type of discussion every day with these, and listen, it's hard working with attorneys day in and day out as your primary customer base. Right. A lot of egos involved. But it was more just kind of how that industry shifted. And, the last place I worked, I got laid off. It was the first time in my career that I hadn't been in control of the decision that I made about my future. They were dissolving that part of the business. And this was a big company that said, we're no longer going to be in this space because of all the things I've kind of mentioned to you, the evolution of that industry. Yes. And I just said, that's it. That's enough. Am I going to go try this again with one more? I mean, I probably stayed 3 to 4 years longer than I should have, because you're trapped by your own success.
Yeah, you get used
You've got the book of business. You've got this expertise. All these people. It's difficult to get away from that, but eventually it kind of erodes away at your creativity and your willingness to go do new things. And so
now we done jumped into Clean Air. Tell us about what you're doing there. Tell us about the eco-friendliness. Tell us about all of it. Yeah.
So I had an opportunity to, talk through the franchise option with the owner, Kel. They're based out of Colorado, and he was walking his dog when I got connected with him, and we talked for 90 minutes.
Okay.
The first time, and I was like, all right, there's a good connection here. That felt good. So I really, right out of the gates, I liked what I felt from them from a franchise owner perspective, how they treat their owners, sort of the structure of it. I didn't want to be a general manager or a managing partner posing as an owner for some sort of franchise group. I wanted to be an owner. I wanted to take my business and have a certain level of autonomy, and control, working within the parameters of the franchise system. And Clean Air definitely, gave me that. And they were very fair in terms of, the franchise fees and the royalty rates and things like that. But, I liked the fact that there is an industry that there was a real opportunity to provide some differentiation in. You know, nobody was doing all electric equipment and organic kid and pet friendly products for the lawn and pollinator friendly mosquito control, things like that. You have a lot of two guys in a truck out there running their gas equipment day in, day out. And you've got some bigger companies, a few with brands that same thing. They're out there, they're running gas all day long. Their employees, you know, are getting beat up from the equipment. This was just a unique thing, and it was kind of right out of COVID too. You know, it was June of 2021, so we were right on that tail end of finally people going, okay, we can get back to some sense of normalcy, but you had a lot of remote workers.
Yes.
So if I'm standing outside their window with an electric blower or an electric hedge trimmer, and they're on a conference call, you know, we're not disrupting that the way. I mean, it's a cacophony of noise outside your windows when those blowers and, you know, hedge trimmers and mowers get going. So that was a unique opportunity for differentiation from the, you know, piggybacking off of COVID and all the remote workers. And then it was the eco-friendly component and the pet-friendly component of treating lawns in a healthier way. We have for far too long been pumping synthetics and chemicals into the grass and into the waterways, and dogs are getting cancer and birds are getting affected by it. And, you know, it's not 100% safer, but it is much, much better than what almost any company out there is doing right now. So we found an opportunity to do things in a safer way while also being effective.
For me, I've lived in the South for a long time, had some time in New Orleans, and this is part of the service that I saw that you offered with the mosquitoes. And when I was in New Orleans, there were just a truck that came down the street and was just like, whoa, just blew all this stuff in the air. How is it that you are able to help manage the mosquitoes without doing that blast of death?
Sure. So one, you know, I use it's an electric backpack too. So it does nice bigger water droplets that, you know, it's not a big fogger. Now there are different applications. It's really more about the products you use.
Yes.
So, but we use a quiet sprayer, which is nice again, just for it's consistent with our, you know, mantra of being more eco-friendly. The products are built around cedar oil and citronella oil, lemongrass, garlic, all of that, you know, so it even smells good.
Nice.
The customers really say, like, man, I love it when you come for that first hour. It smells great. But we do a perimeter of the home out near the, you know, fence line. We do around the house. We do up and under all the gutters and eaves troughs. You know, we just, you know, make it, and it's about 3 to 4 weeks the products last, and then you come back around and hit them again. And there is no dome you can put over your home to protect you. And the problem is too, you know, it's best practices around the house. If you're leaving, you know, water in little containers all over, those are breeding grounds. So we're also consulting with customers. We're walking around dumping that water out. We're not a show up, fog your whole property and go. We're giving counsel to how to better manage the mosquito problem, which, you know, there's a lot of harm that can come from mosquitoes too. Never mind just the nuisance factor.
That's right. And you talked about helping with the perimeter of that particular lawn. Tell us a little bit about the perimeter of your business. I know we're here in Atlanta. Geographically wise, where are you trying to reach in, and where are those customers looking like?
So I started with 2 territories. I bought 2 territories from Clean Air. I bought Marietta, 8 or 9 zip codes within that area, and then I bought Sandy Springs, which kind of morphs up into Alpharetta, you know, that horseshoe up there. And then around the 8 or 9 month mark, there was another Clean Air owner who was ready to get out of the business, and he owned Roswell. And I was looking at that territory going, man, that is right in between my 2 territories, really rounds out that gap. So I bought a 3rd territory. So now I own those 3. There's about 650,000 homes in my territory. I don't need any. If I can just get a small percentage of that, I'm going to be a happy man. So we have, but we really try to focus our treatment and mosquito business in the Marietta, Roswell area. And then our maintenance business, you know, we run 4 days a week. we've got 3 crews that run 3 routes, you know, 1 route each day, and we're doing about 185 customers a day for maintenance.
Oh,
you know,
okay, nice.
from May to basically end of November.
Yeah,
you know,
good thing about being down here, that season is a little bit longer. I'm sure it's longer than what it was when you're up there in Michigan. Now, we've spoke, and it sounds a lot about residential. Do you do any commercial at all, or is it just mainly residential?
We do some commercial. We do some auto parts stores. We've got a couple different you know, large 9 standalone buildings within a commercial area that are all, you know, connected to each other. But it's largely residential.
Okay.
But yeah, and you know, the treatment side of the business is really where we're looking to scale.
Okay.
I can, you know, if I add another maintenance route, it's another truck, it's another trailer, it's 2 more bodies, it's all that equipment. You know, you got to ramp up that route, and then there's that tipping point of when you add, you know, the truck to that, you know. So it's a really difficult balancing act. So we're pretty happy with where we are, you know, from a maintenance perspective.
Okay.
But the treatment business is where I really want to grow. I want to compete with Turf Masters and True Green. Now, those guys are, you know, they're national, they're huge, they're sponsors of PGA Tour and everything else.
Yes.
But we can, you know, if we can grow that treatment business up to about, you know, 1,500 customers or so, I'll have a really successful business that I can make some interesting decisions around, whether it's a long-term family business, whether it's a selling opportunity, what have you. But that's the treatment in the mosquito is where I really want to scale. And I think that's where we can have the biggest impact on the environment too.
Okay. That's a good deal. And when you say that, how often should that happen with mosquito treatment? Should I do that once a month, once a quarter? Tell us about that.
Our busy season is April, basically, to the end of October. Now we're seeing a lot of shift in the climate too. You know, the leaves aren't falling off trees sometimes till January lately. I mean, it's interesting how we're watching the evolution of warmer temps going deeper into the season. So the warmer, you know, as long as it's warm, there's going to be mosquitoes hatching. But basically, it's every 3 to 4 weeks, and it runs from April to about the end of October, mid-November. It's about 13 applications annually.
Okay, nice. Well, I definitely appreciate you sharing about your journey and about your business and how you're trying to expand it. And hopefully everyone that is watching can understand the importance of using those types of products and, you know, keeping the nuisance of the mosquitoes down, and they contact you. And I'm confident that you have acquired and nurtured a bunch of business skills or best practices that have helped you to be successful over this journey. Do you mind sharing with the audience some of those best practices that have helped you?
Sure. I mean, you know, one of the things I hang my hat on is failing fast. You know, try stuff. You can get bogged down in the analysis, and I'm just not a big spreadsheet guy. I don't like poring over data. It just doesn't suit my brain, you know, so I'm a doer. So, you know, I know it's kind of a broader answer to your question, but, you know, take those risks, try something. If it doesn't work, recognize, pay attention, and fail quickly at it. Or, you know, run with it. But if you learn something about that thing, sometimes it's just a small tweak, and you can just move on from it. So fail fast, try new things, and hire good people around you. I've been creative with this is a big labor business. You know, the name of the game is always, you know, have good employees around you, have consistency there. I really leaned into the H-2B visa program. So I hire seasonal workers from abroad that come over, and they have a seasonal work program that they're here from basically March to the end of November. This year we're going to do an extension into mid-December. And you know, fingers crossed nothing changes with what's allowed anymore on that.
We'll see how that goes.
But that's been a big component. Have good people around you, you know, and I've learned to let go of, or, you know, recognize where my weaknesses are, right? You know, I know I'm not a big numbers guy. I don't like, again, the spreadsheets and digging in and doing that analysis. So I hired a bookkeeper. You know, and that person now she calls me every Monday at 11:30. We have a sometimes 3-minute call, sometimes 20-minute call. But that has allowed me to put my head on the pillow at night and not worry about some of the stuff that I tend to just push aside because I'm typical.
Yeah, nothing wrong with delegating things. You understand where you are in business. You know those things that you do well and those things you can use some assistance with. And a lot of business owners don't, submit to that, though. They still try to do it and end up railroading themselves instead of understanding, I'm good at this, I may need some help at that. So definitely appreciate you sharing that. Now, we've talked a lot about all of these things, the journey, the business, the best practices, but I want to take some time to talk about you specifically. Now, let's just say you go from 180 to 500 lawns on the maintenance. Let's say you do get that 1,500, 3,000 of the mosquito treatment type things, and time and money is not an issue at all. What is it that you would do with your time then?
Well, I love spending time with my kiddos. Now, by the time I reach those goals, they're not going to be kiddos anymore. I've got a senior, a junior, and an 8th grader.
Okay.
So the kid portion of it's sort of drawn to a close, but that doesn't mean I can't still spend time with my family. I love golfing. Okay. That's probably my one true sort of hobby that I like, doing when I can. And of course, getting to do some travel with my wife, and, going and visiting my kids wherever they end up in school and stuff has always been big. I coached lacrosse for the better part of 7 years for my girls. So I really enjoyed that and have been attached to their sports journey along the way too. So that's been a lot of fun.
Well, good. Talking about golf, have you made it to the pinnacle and made the hole-in-one yet, or we're still searching?
I do have one hole-in-one.
Okay, good.
I was back in my previous years in the legal industry. I was out on a boondoggle hosting a customer out in Kansas City and hit one right in the cup.
Okay.
There was
dunked it.
no ball mark.
Okay. Nice. That's what I'm talking about, man.
One, though.
Yeah, I understand. I'm newer to golf and have come nowhere close to that. But I just wanted to see, maybe if you've done it, I can do it.
Listen, if I can.
I got you. Now, if someone that is watching today has a question about your journey, a question about the business, just want to learn more about you, Seth, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can look up cleanairlawncare.com and you'll see that's the primary company website. You can call 678-827-9886 and you can email me at seth@cleanairlawncare.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, etc.
Awesome. Please reach out to him. Everyone has a magnificent product that is out there, and he's going to take care of you in an eco-friendly way. We truly do appreciate you coming on today. It's not always easy talking about those ups, downs, and all arounds, because you told us a big thing you had to overcome in the beginning with your paint pro situation in college. So we appreciate that, and we want to honor you by giving you the last word. So Seth, please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rod. It's been a pleasure. Biggest piece of advice I can give, budding entrepreneurs out there is don't be afraid to take the risk. I've taken a lot of risks in my life and in my career, moving across the country, trying new things. If you trust your intuition, you work hard at it, and you take those risks, typically good things are going to come.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Rod.
Excellent. And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks.